Welcome back to another special episode of the Mississippi Kidney Foundation Kidney Cares podcast. I'm your host, TJ Mayfield, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Kidney Foundation. And this is an episode that has been in the works for about a year now. I'm a guy I met who came down to Jackson, Mississippi during the height of the water crisis where everybody in America was discussing it, and he decided to drive down on a great plan and project that he has coming up. So I'm so excited to welcome my friend Brian Martindale back to the Mississippi Kidney Foundation, and for the first time on the Mississippi Kidney Cares podcast. Brian, how's it going, man?
I'm great, TJ. It's so good to see you after, spending our time together last year. I never dreamed that I'd get to spend 5 days with you down there, but it was just the best part of my trip.
Right.
And forming an alliance with the Mississippi Kidney Foundation, I'm so glad to be coming back this year and spending at least a day with you here within the next 2 weeks in Jackson.
Right. Well, Brian, I just want to backtrack. I want people to get to know you a little bit for the ones that didn't see what you were able to accomplish last year when you came to Mississippi.
Mhm.
Give them a little bit of your background and how you came up with kidneys for kids.
Okay. Well, it has to start out with myself becoming a kidney donor in 2012 to a young lady who I saw a newspaper article on. I happened to run out of chewing gum at the right time, went to a store to get a pack of chewing gum, and on the store counter was the newspaper with this little 10-year-old girl who needed a kidney transplant. And I had already previously tested for two friends to be paired donors. They had medically were held back. I was given blessing to help somebody else. The gist of it is, I was her blood type. I called the University of Michigan, got retested for this little girl. I was a match like they said, a 1 in 100,000 match, like I was a family member. And January 11, 2013, became her kidney donor. She's now 20 years old. She's in college at Eastern Michigan University, and she is on our board of directors for Kidneys for Kids. Last year, I came up with this plan for a multi-state trip to advocate for children who needed kidney transplants. I'd done so several times for adults in Michigan. And since I'd done this for a child and saw the need that there were 1,100 children in the United States who needed a kidney today, which they do, and there's over 9,800 other children who are on dialysis that will need a kidney transplant more than likely. We hope not, obviously, but more than likely the odds are they will. I decided to do something about it. And I tried to arrange a national trip last year. You were a great help and invited me to come to Jackson to visit your kidney foundation. And as it turned out, after some other plans had fallen through, we got to spend a wonderful 5 days together. I got to see personally up close with you. You know, we went everywhere in Jackson, the impact of what the water crisis took, and it's continually to take until you get your situation corrected. Because, like I learned last year, spending time with you, this wasn't a one-time thing. I think the nation, thought that once we didn't hear any more from Jackson, that this was all cleared up. But being there and talking with you to people and talking to you, you've experienced this basically your whole life
Right.
in a capital city of the United States. And I couldn't understand how this was let to happen. And I knew I had to do something about it. And I was glad to be able to spend that time with you in having the interview where we got to talk about it. We didn't get to visit Washington last year, but this year there's a Washington date on my schedule that I hope you'll be able to join. It'll be the end of July. I'll know
Yeah.
which date soon, but I'll be inviting you, TJ, to come with me to Washington like we talked about last year and carry out our plans to talk
Absolutely.
about what the water impact continues to take on people, especially fighting kidney disease in Jackson, Mississippi.
And
That's Go ahead.
and Brian, I just want to mention that similar because correct me if I'm wrong, you're not that far from Flint, Michigan, am I correct?
I am only 45 minutes from Flint. I worked in construction for many years up until just a couple of years ago as a union member. I'm still a present union member, but I was working in and out of that area as that was continuing to happen, and working with people that live there and were experiencing it firsthand. And to see that, and I thought and it was, I mean, the magnitude is still there. They're still solving that problem, and it affected so many people, and especially children,
Yeah.
because of the content in the water. And then lo and behold, this happens in Jackson and uncovers a problem that's been happening your whole life, that finally is being addressed, but we still have to see it through to the end, obviously, in your city until you have a totally normal water supply all the time, and people that are fighting kidney disease.
Right.
We were talking about last year, the 1,000-gallon tankers that were going to the dialysis centers. I couldn't believe, I would have had to be there, and I was there to see that. And it impacted me so much. You can't get that from watching that in the news, and it was part of taking action last year. And this is what this trip is about this year. This year is about finding 100 kidney donors for 100 children. I was trying to lay out a full 48 state trip. Again, we ran into a few delays, but not like last year. We have a car, a hybrid Chevrolet this time to drive. So we've cut out some of the charging station, things, what I ran into last year,
I do.
finding high-powered charging stations to carry you from point A to point B. I glided into Jackson, Mississippi last year because of the kindness of a Nissan dealer up in Memphis that gave me enough charge to get there. So this year we have the choice between gas and electric. We're still traveling green, but we have a trip arranged that starts on June 12th in Cincinnati, proceeds to St. Louis, Memphis, and then with you in Jackson for at least Thursday and possibly Thursday, Friday. And then I will be going on to New Orleans, Houston, Austin, Dallas. And then we kind of have a skip in Oklahoma. We head out to Albuquerque, Phoenix, San Diego, 3 days worth of interviews in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Denver, Omaha, and finish in Chicago the first leg. And then I get 72 hours at home with my wife and grandchildren. And then I head out in the second leg, that first end of the first week of July. And I'll spend that whole 3.5 weeks in the East, cutting down to the middle, and then over to the East Coast, back up through New York for some big finishing interviews in New York. And actually we'll finish, I think, in Pennsylvania.
Where did the idea come from about the 48 state tour? I mean, I know you told your story about Jessica and whatnot, but where did the idea come from that I'm going to travel to every state in the mainland of the United States of America and spread this story about kidney disease?
Well, it's because it's a national thing. I mean, it may be less than, let's say, in smaller states with smaller populations, but 1,100 children nationwide and 9,800 more. That puts us well over 10,000 children that either need a kidney today or need a kidney very soon. So, and then we got to we can't forget the 96,000 adults who need a kidney. And we can't forget the fact that we lose 13 people who wait for a kidney every single day. So I feel no matter, in some cities, there actually are going to be interviews with groups of adults. And that's one thing I'm going to try to arrange with you, not only wanting to serve the children of Jackson, but also the adult community, to see if we can do a double dip while I'm there and help both, because we can't forget about the numbers, and the numbers of adults I can't put aside.
Correct.
But yeah, we have to represent every state. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to touch every state this year, but I'm going to the places that I've been asked to go to by families. That's Brian, my son, my daughter needs a kidney transplant. They've been on the list. We've, not had a response. We so need, your help to reach people, because statistically, on the average, as far as living kidney donors in the United States, there's only 1 out of 50,000 people that become a living kidney donor.
Right.
So looking at those statistics, I knew I had to put in the time, put in the travel, put my ugly mug in front of 50 different TV cameras to get a national message out there that this is a national epidemic, a crisis or whatever, but it's a solvable crisis in the case of kidney patients for the most part, and solvable by a living donor transplant.
Correct. Correct. And Brian, we are currently working on the Living Donors Protection Act here in Mississippi. Have you heard about that one yet?
Yeah, yours is similar to New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
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 So we're working like we talk about in Washington as far as the national legislation. You're working towards protections for living donors, aftercare cost,
Yeah.
um, and things that Kidneys for Kids supplement for families, like cost of medicines not covered by insurance, cost of
Right.
travel, and
Right.
all of those things. Yes, and that's what we want. I want to put behind this while I'm there in Jackson, if we have the opportunity to put the Kidneys for Kids support and message behind that, and hopefully speak to some of your friends in the legislature while I'm there. If we can make that happen, that would be awesome. Because yeah, it needs to happen first. If not nationally in every state, they have to lock down something similar to New York, where they have the protections that they
Yeah.
should have nationally, and that I'm also traveling with the sponsorship of the National Kidney Registry. They run the Donor Shield program, which is in many hospitals across the United States. And I feel it should be in every transplant center, because if you're in a Donor Shield hospital, you have the protections that you're looking to get through the legislature in Mississippi.
Right.
So
Right.
why not adopt it nationwide? Yes.
Yeah, and for the people that are watching and don't know about the Living Donors Protection Act, I can briefly explain it right quick. A lot of people don't realize that if you donate an organ, it is not illegal for an insurance company to drop your policy. So that's a life insurance policy or any kind of claim that you currently have. That is not illegal currently. I think about 20 states in America. So what we're currently
That's
trying
right.
to do is make it, a nationwide thing that we're going to protect living donors from not losing their insurance if they want to help somebody else extend their life. So what Brian is trying to do is not only help kids get their kidney, but protect the people that donate the kidney to the kids as well. Because Brian, you once
Absolutely.
mentioned that I think an adult can give a kid a kidney uh, as young as the age of 2, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That is so correct. And thank you for leading into that. That's a big thing that I am making a point of in each TV interview, is, the personal interviews with the families. People can't fathom that, a person your size or my size can donate that full size kidney to a height and weight. Sometimes it's even a little less than two. If they make the height and weight, they can get on the list before two. But yeah, people cannot fathom that in their mind. It's like, how can my kidney fit in that little child? Well, it's placed, as you know, in the stomach pouch. Sometimes because of size, the one kidney might have to be removed to make room for it. Usually the kidneys are left in place. But yes, that's what I want to get across to people, that you, as an adult watching this, if you're in generally good health, you have good kidney function, you can share your spare kidney, which, if you're in generally good health, you have a spare kidney. You can give that to a person and give them the same life that you're living today, like I did.
Well, Brian, I know you're a pretty busy man, so we just want to promote kidneys for kids right now, and just tell people how they can sponsor or donate, and what can they expect on the 48 state tour that you're about to embark on.
Well, they can expect, I will for sure touch down in at least 30 states or more as of right now, as of the schedule right now. On the first leg, we're looking at about approximately 20 interviews that will happen before I reach Michigan back again in July, and 25 to 30 more in the eastern states. So you can expect by the end of this, we hope is a national story when we reach New York, that promotes living kidney donation for everybody, for children and adults, gets these messages out nationally about the protections that we need going forward for the Living Organ Donor Protection Act, whether it's in states or nationally. We got to get the message out that you can donate to a child as young as 2, and make sure people know I want to be the living example. Like I say, I'm 61. I'm able to travel the United States alone in a vehicle and do all this physically with no problems. And you can live the same kind of life I do. So I also want to talk about just real quick, because when people see this, I want to promote your Mississippi Kidney Foundation walk. Can we talk about that real quick, please?
Absolutely, absolutely. Here at the Mississippi Kidney Foundation, a lot of people don't realize we're still a nonprofit. So it's
Yes.
always fighting for money and fighting for support. So having a partnership with you and your support has been something that we're greatly appreciative of, and we want to continue this relationship and support you in any way possible. But I was just thinking about, we were supposed to record this a while back, and I had some things that, trying to get my schedule aligned with yours. But for a man to want to give his kidney to somebody he had never met, and then not only use his story to travel around the United States and try to save more lives, I think that's special. And it's always great talking to you and hearing you share your story with other people.
Well, thank you, TJ. And like I say, we'll be seeing each other soon, and let's do all we can by that time we have together to promote everything that the Mississippi Kidney Foundation is doing. Let's do everything we can for children and adults while I'm in Jackson.
Absolutely. And Brian, before we go, do you have any announcements or anything that you want people to know before we finish this episode?
Yes, Kidneys for Kids, again, like you, is a 501(c) nonprofit. Our main purpose, besides my advocating, is our core mission is to financially support families who have a child who needs a kidney transplant or is going through dialysis for costs not covered by insurance. So right now, we are at the point where we are issuing $1,000 microgrants to families to help with those kind of issues. And if you're watching this and you are the mother or father of a child going through kidney transplant treatment for the costs not covered by insurance, the travel that's incurred, you're welcome to apply for a grant at kfork.org. And also, you can support my trip there. I could, just like you say, I'm traveling as a nonprofit. I have some sponsorship, but I need to raise at least another $10,000 to complete the whole tour of the United States. So your donation this year, because we are a nonprofit, is tax deductible. So you'll find two different ways to donate at kfork.org. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, that's Brian Martindale, Kidneys for Kids. You see the wonderful shirt that he has on. So excited to see what Brian will accomplish on his journey. Brian, as always, I thank you. I appreciate you for all of your hard work for kidney patients, especially for young people. You know my story, how young I was when I found out about my kidney failure. So, of
Yes, I
course,
do.
we thank you, and so great to talk to you again, Brian.
Thank you, TJ. I look forward to seeing you soon, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, that was Brian Martindale here on the Mississippi Kidney Foundation Kidney Cares podcast. Stay tuned for more great episodes, and be sure to look out for Brian as he will be in Jackson in a couple of weeks and around the country. So you never know, he's going to show up in your state or city. So thank you all
That's
for
right.
tuning in, and thank you, Brian, once again for joining on to the Mississippi Kidney Foundation Kidney Cares podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.